0. So what happens if, for example, we have a 6-month-old boy and we're going to block, okay, so we're blocking the cerebral aqueduct. What could happen? Okay, so essentially what you're going to get is if you block the cerebral aqueduct, the third and the lateral ventricle are going to start to swell. Why is that? Well, what happens in the lateral and the third ventricle? Okay, well that is essentially where you're going to be producing your cerebrospinal fluid. So you produce the cerebrospinal fluid via an area called your choroid plexus. Okay, so your choroid plexus is where essentially you've got your capillary loops coming downwards. And these capillary loops, what they're going to be doing is having blood that are going to be going through them. And the capillary loops themselves are covered by what kind of cells? Okay, so the capillary loops are covered by ependymal cells. Now the ependymal cells are what are going to be taking the blood and essentially forming the cerebrospinal fluid, which is a substrate and a filtrate essentially of blood. So cerebrospinal fluid is going to be containing glucose, oxygen, vitamins and ions essentially. And that is going to be made by your ependymal cells. Now the ependymal cells in the choroid plexuses are roughly about 70% located in the lateral ventricles and roughly about 30% or so in the third ventricles. So why is cerebrospinal fluid important then? So cerebrospinal fluid is going to be important because ultimately it's going to regulate your brain function, it's going to provide nutrition, but it's also going to be a protective water jacket. So having said all that, let's go back to where I was saying. So we had a 6-month-old boy, we blocked the cerebral aqueduct. We said that we'd have dilation of the lateral and the third ventricles. So that is going to be called hydrocephalus. Okay? What is going to happen that's different in a 6-month-old to say an adult who is, I don't know, 29 years old, for example? Okay, yep, so perfect. So essentially the front bit and the back bit, remember you've got posterior and anterior fontanelles in children. So those areas and sutures may have not fully ossified. That means if they're not fully ossified, then the brain and, the skull can discompensate. So if the ventricles are pushing out and there's lots of kind of pressure to push out, the skull can actually compensate. Whereas in adults, our skull cannot compensate. So because our skull can't compensate, the brain is more likely to be pushed through the only space that is possible. And that is going to be this area here. What is that called? Perfect, that's your foramen magnum. So it's going to be pushed straight through your foramen magnum. Okay, so it's really important to understand that. Okay, so it then kind of makes sense as to why the child's brain and skull, so the child's brain is going to be swelling, but the skull is going to be compensating and getting really large as well. The large skull is going to be called your macrocephaly. Okay, perfect. So in terms of cerebrospinal fluid, what is the function of your arachnoid granules? Okay, so cerebrospinal fluid is going to be absorbed by the arachnoid granulations. So these essentially act as valves that allow the cerebrospinal fluid to flow from the subarachnoid space that I was on about going round the skull and then into the venous system essentially. Okay, however, it's really important that you realize that arachnoid granules do not produce cerebrospinal fluid. The only thing that produces cerebrospinal fluid is going to be the ependymal cells. Perfect. Okay, so that's the end of this lecture. I hope you found it useful. If you have any feedback, please let me know. And other than that, good luck for your exams. Thank you.
Guys, thank you very much for watching. Make sure that you like this video if you like it. If you don't like it, then do unlike. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and please share this channel with others as well.